our objective is to get the Army back to training as soon as possible. So if we can go out and put fire on the ground and blacken an area to allow it to not start fires again, by training munitions, now they can train for several more months on end before we have to worry about it. Because our number one thing, and the reason that we're here as a fire department and as an installation, is to make sure that the soldiers get trained. It's to make sure that they have the training they need to go over and fight overseas to keep all of us safe. They're the ones that are out fighting for our freedom. So for us, our number one goal is to make sure that they get every ounce and every minute of training that they can to ensure that they are successful in their missions overseas.
We are in an active training installation that has heavy equipment here. We have impact areas that even if it's on fire, you're not going into that area. That certain areas we will burn and certain areas we won't burn or will let burn.
Wildland Fire Management's role on an installation is to basically support the warfighter. We're there to provide them a safe training area so they can meet their training objectives, their training mission. We don't always know whether or not, is that unit deploying in 2 weeks, or are they doing their regular qualifications? Or we may not know what has to happen right now, but we have to interact with them, we have to support them. So if there's a fire on the ground or pieces of that nature, I want to make it fire safe for them so they can go back to training in a timely manner and meet their objective. So when we're doing in-briefings, we start obviously by following through the IRPG briefing checklist, but we have to cover some of the other more unique pieces of installation life. We have to be talking about UXO. We start with the don't kick it, don't pick it up, don't take it home, don't put it in your pocket speech, and a lot of them have already heard it because they've been here before, or we've done pre-season training with them, but we want to absolutely reinforce what we're talking about on the ground. There's lots of neat things out there. People are curious. That is not the time to be curious and pick something up and take it home. Then we talk a lot about driving, where you're driving, how you're driving. The road conditions can change in just a few minutes. There may be heavy armored vehicles on the same roads that you're sharing with them. Those drivers may not see you. Their scope and vision can be very limited. If we're working at night, you may be working downrange with troops on the ground that are wearing night vision devices. They don't want to see your headlights coming down the road. So you have to be very cautious when you're working downrange at night. Are there troops on the ground? There may be troops walking down that road that there's nothing about them that you're going to recognize until all of a sudden you see them.
The next piece you have to be clear on is what are your routes of travel, and with a map. So they may be giving you route numbers that don't correspond. If you have a GPS in your truck, they may have road names on them that don't correspond with route numbers. What do you do when you run into closed gates? How do you address those? If it's closed, is it really closed, or did it just blow closed because nobody pinned it open? And what is your interface going to be with troops in the area? What's the process? So are they there? Are they supposed to be there? Do you need to talk to them, not talk to them, report it up? What's that going to look like? When you're involved in the briefing coming in, you need to make sure that you're clear in your understanding of what the communication methods are going to be. They may say trunked radios, but is that a 400 megahertz trunked radio, an 800 megahertz trunked radio, voter repeaters, VHF? What does that system really look like? And then if you're not sure and you're not clear, ask to have a training so that you get the method of how this is going to work.
That briefing is going to entail, this is the environment you're in, this is what you need to do to mitigate it, and if you feel unsafe, then you need to say something.
If you have a question, ask somebody that's familiar with the installation and what's going on.
UXO and wildland fire operations is number one thing that we brief our guys on all the time. Every time we do a refresher, every time we do a wildland class, that is something we're discussing every single time. You know, if you see something on the ground that does not look like it should normally be there and is not in a natural vegetation that you would see, stay away from it. Everything that they do, from shooting, you know, the M16s to 50 cals to, you know, bombing ranges, mortars, all of that stuff, UXO is going to be number one for us every single time.
On an installation, again, we have to look at those routes of travel. We have to know what's going on. Are there areas within that fire perimeter that pose a significant hazard that we've already identified that we're going to stay out of? You know, are we working in an impact area where there's unexploded munitions, or there are ranges here at Fort Carson that have been around since World War II? We may or may not know where everything is on those ranges, so we have to avoid those areas. So it may not be a matter of just easily walking the line and starting to put boots on the ground and dig in line. I may have to go indirect. I may have to go parallel simply to avoid an area that's potentially a much higher hazard area.
The constant presence of UXO, or the possibility of it existing on the ranges, is ever present. It can be on the ranges, it can be anywhere, to include proximity to the base. So once you're off of the base doesn't mean it's not there. There's lots of ways for it to migrate, not necessarily just missing the target or getting it out, but it can exist on the fringes as well. So you always have to be cautious of UXO and have it in your mind as you're responding on post or in the vicinity of the post. As it relates to wildland fire, some of it's reactive with fire, some of it's not reactive with fire. Some of it, the fire doesn't hurt it, but it burns away the structure that's holding it in place. It falls and it's shock sensitive. So you have to be present, you have to be mindful wherever you're going, even on roadways, that that product exists out there. Some of it won't do anything. Some of it can be very old. There are areas that are absolutely no-goes. When it says it's a no-go or it's a no admittance area, it's for a reason. There is stuff out there that when they use it in war is meant to remove life from the surface of the earth, and it's not discriminate. It will see you the same way.
I go back to, with UXO, same briefing I do all the time. Don't pick it up, don't drive on it, don't kick it, don't take it home. There's lots of pretty, interesting things on the ground. Leave them on the ground. Installations have a lot of heavy equipment. There's tanks, there's armored personnel carriers, strikers, many different types of equipment out there. We need to be aware where they're at. They may be on the road with you. They're obviously bigger and heavier than we are, so give them the right of way. The drivers have got maybe a limited field of vision, so be sure that you can see that driver and he's aware that you're there before you start to make a move around them or across them. So particularly at night, if you're working down a road or you're working across country, you may come across a tank or a Bradley sitting there in a hide that you haven't even seen. They're camouflaged, they're down in a hide pit, something like that, and you're not even aware that they're there. They may not see you. Occasionally we'll come across a military vehicle that's involved in the fire. You know, whether the fire was started by the vehicle or an accident or another incident, and now we have essentially a wildland fire outside of the other incident. You need to be aware that there may be ordnance on that vehicle that we have to deal with. There's hazardous materials with those vehicles, whether it's oil, fuel, hydraulic, liquid, any of those pieces that can go on. Like any other normal vehicle fire, they will, because they're training in the wildlands, they're probably going to have a wildland fire extending off of a vehicle fire. So we want to make sure that we're dealing and mitigating those hazardous materials directly and taking care of that.
So the hazards with working with military vehicles in general, you know, with wildland firefighting is number one, I mean, they can't always see you. You know, that's the biggest thing. They don't have great turning radiuses. They don't have the ability to, you know, they don't have a lot of 360 visibility. You know, sometimes they'll have someone, depending on what the vehicle is, have someone in the, you know, the top hatch sitting above it, but they may not be able to see you. So if we get a fire at night, they're down there using night vision goggles. So they don't even have headlights on, even on like a Humvee or something like that. So they'll be driving with night vision goggles and we may not see them at all. So if we don't see them and then all of a sudden, you know, you have vehicles start coming past you, that's always a concern.
Social media and being able to take pictures and share your experiences of what you're doing is not okay here, and it's not okay on a lot of federal installations. We have a very robust social media and OPSEC policy that we train on annually for this. So when we're bringing in outside agencies and our own people that we train with this, that we tell them, you know, this is not for public consumption. We cannot put this out for public release.
Information security is really kind of an overarching item. Even in the briefings in the morning, we'll make sure and pass on that you don't be taking pictures of things that you don't know or you think is cool and putting it on your personal Facebook or your Instagram page or whatever, because you are on a military installation. We try to control that at that level.
We don't take photos of UXO. We don't take photos of any type of structures around the facility. And that's a commitment we made as a cooperator, and that allows us to have a good working relationship. It's kind of like going into somebody's house. You go around and take photos of all their family photos, or you just look at them, experience it, and move on. You know, it's their home, want to respect that.
But if you're an outside resource coming in, you've got your laptop, you want to sit down, you want to start, you know, work on your IAP for the next operational period, you want to get onto some new maps, you want to start working on a better map for what's going on. You have to be aware that, yeah, there's that network port sitting over there on the wall. They'll plug into it. All these are controlled. They're monitored. You don't have a DoD computer, don't plug into it. If you have a question, ask somebody that's familiar with the installation and what's going on.